It is Bengals versus Steelers week. We are going to talk about all that and more up next here on No Buts About It. Welcome everyone to No Buts About It. I am Josh Butts. That is Chus in his basement. And we have a little bit to talk about today. Not a big news week. However, right before, about 2 hours before we hopped on the show, we found out where Daniel Jones, his new home, was going to be. He got released by the New York Giants. The New York Giants said, "Hey, Daniel, you're not doing it for us. You're heading out." Released him. Named Tommy DeVito the starter. Now Tommy DeVito might be hurt, so now they're kind of stuck with Tim Boyle, which is Stan's worst nightmare. Kind of funny to me, but
or Drew Lock.
Or Drew Lock. That's true. I forgot about Drew Lock.
Yeah, so it could be either or both of them. Maybe they run a Steelers quarterback set.
It's true. I forgot about Drew Lock. I am sorry, Drew. But I've already kind of given my thoughts in a YouTube short that was super great. It was the best YouTube short I've ever done. Definitely wasn't half asleep when I did it. Chus, what are your thoughts on this? Were you surprised by the Minnesota Vikings being the team that ended up with Daniel Jones?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to shut my door because sometimes like the extra sound comes in if the door's not shut all the way. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that the Vikings would sign him. I don't think that the Vikings necessarily need a quarterback, and I kind of understand like Danny Dimes is like, okay, yeah, I want to go to a contender to try to get a Super Bowl ring. I don't really know why he wants to go and try to win a Super Bowl. I mean, in my opinion, he's not really going to be doing anything other than getting that ring. And it kind of frustrates me because there's some players like that ring chase to add to their career of accomplishments, such as like Odell Beckham Jr. or, you know, the list goes on and on about who's ring chasing over the years and whatnot. Odell was just the first person I thought of. But when it comes to like Daniel Jones, joining the Vikings as a backup quarterback, I don't know. I don't know why the Vikings decided to do it. I mean, obviously you have a solid backup in case Darnold goes down again. I mean, you do. I mean, and like, so that's a good thing. Obviously, Daniel Jones is not like this superstar. It's not like the Steelers, I would say, where you have Justin Fields, who is a pretty solid starter, and you have Russell Wilson, who is a very solid starter. You have Daniel Jones, who can be good, but also has shown times where he can't be good or like struggles to be good. Whereas Sam Darnold is the same way, but he's having a really, really good season. Now, I don't expect Sam Darnold to get benched at any point this season for the rest of the year. I mean, he's done really well. So the only thing I can think of is that, yeah, they're just using him they're just having Daniel Jones on that team for insurance purposes in case Sam Darnold does get hurt, which honestly, I don't think is a terrible move because if you look at it from like a bigger picture, if Sam Darnold goes down in your divisional round game and like, you know, the Vikings obviously haven't had great playoff luck over the last couple of years, but if you have Daniel Jones as your backup, although he is no superstar quarterback, he'll probably still, if I was a Vikings fan, I would trust in him more than I would trust in some other random quarterback that doesn't maybe have as much experience or is like a certified backup that's only been a backup for his time in the NFL. So, but Daniel Jones, he has that game time experience. He hasn't done real good in New York. I mean, then again, he hasn't always had the weapons to work with. I mean, this is the first year where I feel like he's had like a stud wide receiver being Neighbors. Obviously, he worked with Barkley, but during those times, like I don't remember if there was like any crazy. I mean, obviously, like the wide receiver core room has been struggling, and the Giants have always been kind of like up and down with the weapons. So if Daniel Jones did have to start, it'd be really interesting to see how well he would do with like weapons such as like Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and some of those guys, and even Hawkinson. So, I mean, the offense is good over in Minnesota, so it'll be kind of cool to see what Daniel Jones would do in the event that he would start. But it's clear that he's ring chasing. Obviously, I don't think that the Vikings are going to re-sign him next year. It's not like I'm assuming it's just a 1-year deal to finish out the season. So I don't see them being like, okay, yeah, Daniel Jones, we're going to bring you back. I mean, obviously Daniel Jones is going to try to go somewhere else that is going to want or need a quarterback, like the Raiders, or, you name it. He's going to probably look to go there. But yeah, so I don't know. I think it's not a bad move though. I think having the insurance in the event Darnold goes down is a good thing. But also, like I said, it's Daniel Jones, and I'm not going to think too hard into it,
Okay. So I actually think the Vikings will re-sign him going into next year. But
why do you think that? Are you going to explain that?
I will explain that.
Okay.
So first of all, the contract is a 1-year, $375,000 deal. He's starting out on the practice squad. So any team can pick him up, like say Thursday, God forbid, Caleb Williams goes down and the Bears are like, we need a quarterback. They go and sign Daniel Jones. I don't know why they do that, but
that would be freaking awesome.
But yeah. I mean that's just something happens. The only reason I say the Bears is because they scrolled across the screen right when I was starting that sentence. But anyway, Daniel Jones is going to go to the place where he, A, feels like he can be on a competitive team, and B, feels like he's going to actually have an opportunity to do something. The Vikings right now, their backup is Nick Mullins. And after Nick Mullins, it's Brett Rippon.
I'm not a big Nick Mullins fan, not going to lie. I watched him. Steelers Eagles 2021 preseason game. He blew it for the Eagles, so not really big on Nick Mullins.
It's very likely that Daniel Jones gets off of the Vikings practice squad and becomes the starter behind Darnold, right? So then you've got to look at, okay, J.J. McCarthy is also going to be back next year. But you know who I don't think is going to be back next year? Sam Darnold.
Why?
Because Sam Darnold's a free agent. And Sam Darnold is playing so well that his contract is going to demand more. So if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, at that point, you have to make a decision. Am I going to extend Sam Darnold and pay him more? I mean, he's in an MVP conversation this year. Or am I going to let him go, get paid by someone else, and start to develop my first-round quarterback in J.J. McCarthy? I think long-term success-wise, you have to develop your young quarterback. If you truly believe in J.J. McCarthy, which you apparently do because you spent a first-round pick on him, right? So then the depth chart becomes J.J. McCarthy, Daniel Jones. And I think Daniel Jones may see that and say, hey, look, JJ is going to basically be a rookie next year. He didn't get any playing time this year because he got hurt in the preseason. I would stay with Minnesota because I'm going to be a competitive team. I've got a coach who is favorable towards me because Kevin O'Connell is a former quarterback. He has been sympathetic to former quarterbacks. He said that young organizations fail young quarterbacks before young quarterbacks fail organizations.
I mean, that is a very true statement all the way around.
And he said that statement. He's shown a resurgence with Sam Darnold. And maybe, we're just looking at what the cards as we have them right now. Maybe something happens. And like I said, Daniel Jones could go somewhere else. But right now he is with the Minnesota Vikings. And I think it is reasonable to believe that he will get extended by the Minnesota Vikings. Not for big money, but just as a backup. Because right now they don't have a guy who is a strong backup. And I don't know that Daniel Jones makes a strong case to be a starter. That being said, free agency isn't that great anyway next season. Sam Darnold is the top free agent, and then after that it's like Zach Wilson. So it's not a great
over there.
not a great free agency season. That's why I think Sam Darnold might end up with the New York Giants. But
so I'm curious. If I'm kind of like I'm looking at this like from a perspective. I mean, obviously, do you think the Vikings are looking at him as like Sam Darnold as like a always going to be type of backup guy that's just having like a really good year? Like, would you compare him on like a level? I mean, obviously they're two very different situations, but like I remember with the Eagles, they had Nick Foles who led them all the way to the Super Bowl and won it, and then they ended up letting him go like a year or two later. And obviously he didn't do real good as a starter elsewhere. But I just didn't know if you thought that the Vikings look at Sam Darnold as that always second tier guy that's always going to be a backup, because the way that I'm looking at it is if he wins you a playoff game or two, or heck, he like topples some of these random teams, like he takes down the Vikings, or not the Vikings, he takes down the Lions. He is with the Vikings, but he takes down like the Lions or something like that, and they go to the Super Bowl, and like all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's like, okay, do you invest in Sam Darnold at that point? It's like, okay, yeah, you have JJ McCarthy, but you don't have to take the time to develop JJ McCarthy anymore, and then you could trade him if you wanted to, because there's
trade JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, there's teams out there that already need a quarterback. I mean, we've already kind of talked on the show that the quarterback class coming up isn't probably as good as last year's quarterback class, or even in future quarterback classes. You have somebody like JJ McCarthy who's going in to be a rookie, quote unquote. A team like the Raiders or somebody like that could drop the wide receiver with their top pick and trade for JJ McCarthy. And next thing you know, the Raiders are slowly rebuilding. And then the only reason I'm using the Raiders is because they are horrendous. But but like the reason, so my point is like, that's why I'm unsure with like the whole JJ McCarthy thing right now, because obviously if Sam Darnold goes in and like craps the bed in the first round, if granted they'll probably get the wild card, like if they, let's say, go in the wild card and he like loses, he throws 3 interceptions, whoever he plays, assuming let's say it's like Philadelphia, he just like craps himself against Philadelphia if they're the 7th seed or whatever seed they go in as, like, what do you like at that point? Okay, yeah, I can see them probably holding on to Daniel Jones. I don't know. It's just really odd for me to jump to conclusions yet, but I could see them also trying to get trade bait if they decide that Sam Darnold, who's already been developed, becomes their top guy. And then heck, if you want to bring in Daniel Jones, you could even have like a weird quarterback thing for a year where it's like, oh yeah, Daniel Jones is the backup, Sam Darnold, it's the future. And it's like, okay, blah, 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 whatever. I mean, I don't know, like when they did the Lions and the Rams did that quarterback swap with like Matt Stafford and Goff, they were like in their like mid to late 20s. I think they were in like the 26-year-old range when they got traded. Maybe, I don't remember off the top of my head, but when they got traded, it was like, okay, they swapped guys and they're like, okay, now these are our franchise. Now those are different situations, but I don't know. I think that it could be an interesting concept to trade JJ McCarthy away if Sam Darnold takes you far enough and you're willing to invest in him, especially if he wins MVP and all these other things. Because in the end, do you think, like, from your personal opinion, and anybody listening, please like feel free to like mention this, do you think Sam Darnold would do well in some of these other offenses as a quarterback? Because like, obviously, yeah, he's having a great season, but is it entirely Sam Darnold, or is it also the weapons around Sam Darnold? Because I sometimes wonder that about Tua as well down in Miami. Is Tua as good as Tua actually is if he is with New England? Is he the same quarterback? Because we've also talked about the fact that Tua's never played anywhere in his life other than during regular season games where he's played in like cold weather arenas. You know, he played at Alabama, he played down in Florida, he's now in Miami. Like, is he the same quarterback? And same thing with Sam Darnold. I mean, we saw what he did with the Jets. I mean, obviously the Jets are up and down when it comes to quarterback development.
They're down. They're down.
Yeah, so they're down when it comes to quarterback development and or even like keeping quarterbacks motivated, because we're even seeing Rodgers kind of fall off here. I don't know. Because then at that point, it also turns into like a Nick Foles thing where it's like, okay, Nick Foles had the weapons around him. Then he goes to, I think it was the Bears, and they had nothing. I don't remember if it was the Bears or the Colts, but I think he went somewhere else.
He went to the Jaguars, I think.
He went to the Jag. Okay, yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, they didn't really have any weapons around them. And then he got quarterback carouseled. So, I mean, that very well could happen with Darnold. Do you think that Darnold could do well in some of these other offenses if he's a top free agent?
Okay, so well, first of all, Tua. I think Tua has shown, or at least the Dolphins' offense has shown, that they need Tua because they sucked when he was out. Even Tyreek Hill wasn't doing anything.
Well, no, I don't disagree with that, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of, is Tua good with good without his weapons, is what I'm saying. Tyreek Hill is obviously going to be good with Tua, but would Tua be good with Mac Hollins?
Yeah, I don't know.
Samuel, like the initial Buffalo's wide receiver core over there before they added Amari Cooper and changed around their wide receiver core.
Yeah, that's hard to answer without seeing it, I guess, because that offense is weird. But Sam Darnold, I don't know. I think you would for Sam Darnold. I don't think he's ever going to be like a Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, where he can like kind of find a way to win the game or find a way to put up stats no matter what. But I do think that if a coach came in, a new coach, maybe Stan's wanted to fire Brian Dable for like the last 2 years. Like the Giants need a quarterback. That's why I'm going to use the Giants. If the Giants were to go and get a new head coach and they said, hey, we're going to go after Sam Darnold, and then that coach built his offensive scheme around Sam Darnold's talents. I mean, that's what Kevin O'Connell has done. Yes, they have talented players in Justin Jefferson and talented players in like Jordan Addison, but Aaron Jones. Like, I'm not denying that. But also, Kevin O'Connell has said, okay, this is what Sam Darnold's skill set is, and that's what I'm going to ask him to do. I'm not going to ask him to do anything beyond his own skill set. And that's what his next coach is going to have to do. And that's what coaches are going to have to continue to learn to do. We're leaving this era of football where the players are having to mold to what the coaches did, because at this point, it's becoming way too easy for the players to just leave. It's becoming more acceptable for the players to come out and just request a trade.
Yeah.
So I think that's a hard question to answer, because there are offenses where Sam Darnold would do very poorly. But I think you could very easily, if you're a team like the Giants, where you already have your star wide receiver, you already have a very good young running back, you could, and a very good defense, you could realistically create an offense that fits very well for Sam Darnold. So we'll see what happens. I don't know how much longer we can really go into this, but I just think, first of all, I guess my question going back to J.J. McCarthy is, what would your trade value be on J.J. McCarthy? If you're a team, you're not going to give up a first-round pick for him.
No.
You haven't seen him play in the NFL. But why would the Vikings at the same time aren't going to want to just lose that first-round pick?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I feel like also if you already have your investments in Sam Darnold, for example, if you're like, okay, this is our guy, like we're going with Darnold. He took us to the Super Bowl, and even though we lost, or we won the Super Bowl, or we lost really close by a nail-biter, weird, suspicious pass interference call in the NFC Championship, whatever the case may be. When it comes to trading away J.J. McCarthy, I wouldn't put him on like a trade level of like how like they traded away like some of those other top quarterbacks like Kenny Pickett. When the Steelers traded away Kenny Pickett, they gave it like dirt. I don't even remember what the trade value was for Kenny Pickett, or like even Trey Lance or some of those guys. I wouldn't put them on the same level of that, because J.J. McCarthy, I think, probably without knowing his potential or even playing a game at all in any capacity, I think it's hard to justify like a really low pick. So I would probably say like second round pick, maybe even like some players you throw in or something like that. Kind of like package it, but I wouldn't do a first round pick. I don't think any of these teams would give up a first round pick because like the Raiders, obviously, as I mentioned, if you draft like a wide receiver or something like that, the next thing you know, you have a wide receiver and then you trade for JJ McCarthy. Maybe you give up like your second and third and something. Or like, I don't know how like high or low. I mean, obviously it's not going to be like a low fifth, sixth round pick type thing. It's going to be probably a second or third round pick, or even if you really want to go crazy, even a future first round pick.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because like the value, it really depends on what people see in the potential of him. Obviously, we don't like some of the quarterbacks went kind of high, I think, in this draft class too, because I think some of these freaking teams kind of panicked. I mean, we talked about that with Atlanta. I mean, they panicked. They were just like, yeah, we're just going to like draft. And Kirk Cousins is like, team was like, why is this like a thing? Like, why did you guys do this? So McCarthy might not also be like that high value quarterback. I mean, we don't know.
Bo Nix wasn't valued that high. I don't think Atlanta panicked. I think Atlanta panicked everyone else. I think when Atlanta drafted Michael Penix Jr., they set off all the other teams, and that's why you had Bo Nix going in the first round, even though he was slated as a second, third round pick. He looks pretty good still, though.
Bo
and JJ
Nix
McCarthy
is a good quarterback.
JJ McCarthy, national champion. I'm not saying he's the reason they won the national championship, but he has that on his resume.
He does. He's on winning mentalities. Yep.
Winning mentality. He's been on the big stage before, which is big with young guys. He's been under that pressure. He's shown he can perform to the capacity that his team can win the game. So I just we've been talking about this for 22 minutes here now, but let us know your thoughts below, and we will continue to follow this because I think this is going to end up being a bigger story in the offseason as well. So make sure
February, March, we'll probably come back to this.
Make sure you subscribe below so you don't miss anything. But yeah, I think this is going to end up being something interesting that we come back on. Anyway, though, Chus, your boys, your Steelers, you played in a snow globe in Cleveland last Thursday.
Yeah, we did.
And Jameis, I love Jameis Winston, man. Jameis Winston, I don't know when this happened, but he's like just happy to be there. I don't know if he's just accepted that he's a backup quarterback now and he's just the happiest man in the world, but watching like the interview reporters try to interview him and ask him questions, and he just answers with the most random thing ever. Kaylee asked him a question and he responded with a Bible verse, which I think is awesome, but I think he's just having fun out there. But he defeated your Pittsburgh Steelers. The Cleveland Browns they stayed in Cleveland. The Pittsburgh Steelers went into Cleveland and lost. So what happened here, Chus?
It's easy to blame the weather for something like this, but while I was watching the game, there was just a lot of problems that I saw with this team. I feel like in the first quarter, nothing really happened. It just felt like it was just weirdly non-offensive and different things like that. And then all of a sudden the snow started picking up and Cleveland was scoring. And it's just like, I don't know. Like the problem that I had when I was watching this game was I was just like unbelievably disappointed because the game started off where it was fine. Then all of a sudden the snow came in and all of a sudden the Steelers started playing better. So first of all, when people like throw in like, oh, well, it was the weather and like they probably would have played better. Well, they started playing a little bit better whenever it was snowing, which makes really no sense, but they were. Another thing, I blame the defense. I somewhat blame the offensive calling. I'm starting to get a little frustrated. Now, we don't want to jump a little bit. I'm getting frustrated with the offensive play calling a little bit. Our red zone offense right now is like third lowest in the NFL. And like, that's like almost as bad as Matt Canada. Like you put offensive yards aside. Yeah. Like Russell Wilson is putting up, like, I think this game he had like 270 yards and a touchdown. Like, okay, he's still putting up decent numbers. He's not bad. I think Russ is doing fine, but some of these play callings, like you throw in like Cordell Patterson, and then I forget what the second play was. Then you then you throw a fade on third down, and then you go in and you have to kick another field goal. Yeah, we're leading the NFL in field goals. We have like 30 some field goals kicked. Like, we need to start scoring more touchdowns. And I think that's what's killing us in these games. And then, like, yeah, like Boswell missed a field goal at some point during the game. But like, can you even blame him? It was like 53. It's like a 53-yard field goal. It was windy. It was snowing. Like, come on, bro. Like give the man some help here. Like, you can't rely on him for like these crazy field goals. And like, yeah, he's a really great kicker. He probably should be like, he should be the top rated safety, or not safety, special teams player this year. He should be. But at the end of the day, I think the defense at times looks very questionable. And the problem that I have with that is, for this being like a very highly paid defense, they need to get their crap together. And on top of that, like I said, the play calling by Arthur Smith is being really weird. It can be really fun. Like, seeing Justin Fields go in there and weird wildcat things and different like situations and whatnot, that's fun. But like, you also have to know how to score in the red zone. You can't be throwing in Cordell Patterson on a first down if Najee Harris just plowed through four drives. Okay, yeah, Najee Harris is at 100 yards, but let's throw in Cordell Patterson, and then he gets stuffed, and then you throw a fade on third down, and it goes nowhere. And I'm just starting to get a little frustrated with some of stuff like that, because the problem that I'm having with this team is we're losing to, like, the way that I'm there's a couple things that I will say with this team that I'm a little concerned about. Number one, we lost to some really crappy teams. Cleveland is not a good team. We lost to Dallas. I don't think they're that good of a team. Yes, they had Dak in at that point, but like, still, I don't think that team at that point when we lost to them was that good of a team. And lastly, I don't think that shoot, I can't even remember who we lost to last. Who was the last team we lost to?
Browns.
I already said the Browns. There was another team we lost to. It wasn't it was I can't even remember off the top of my head right now. Either way, I'm gonna look this up because I can't remember. I'm blanking right now. Steelers schedule. We lost to Colts. Lost to the Colts. Another game we should not have lost.
Very, very impressive team.
Yes. So, and like, these three teams we lose to are not that good. But the problem also is you look at the teams we did beat, and if you look at our resume for this year, there's really not crazy impressive wins. Like, yeah, you beat the Falcons. You beat the Falcons, they're all right. I mean, I believe they're still at the top of their division right now, so they're okay. You beat the Broncos, who are surprising this year, but at the time, Bo Nix was like in his second game as a starter, going against the Steelers' like unbelievable pass rush. And then you go up and you beat the Raiders. Okay, you beat the Chargers, who the Chargers are like pretty legit. I mean, I would say they're probably one of the more legit teams we've beaten. And then you beat the Jets, the Giants. Like, I mean, you almost blow that game to the Giants. And then and then you beat the Commanders. But then the problem is like, you look at some of these wins, like, okay, yeah, you beat the Commanders, you beat the Chargers, you beat the Broncos, you beat the Falcons, but then you lose games like to the Cowboys, to the Browns, and to the Colts. And two of those three games, even this game probably was preventable. They're close losses. So it's like, it's not that we're getting blown out. I mean, you lose by 3 you lose by 3 to the Cowboys, you lose by 3 to the Colts, you lose by 5 to the Browns. I mean, even if Boswell would have made that field goal, I mean, it still wouldn't have won us the game or anything like that. But like, the problem that I'm having is just the consistency with this team, because even back when the Steelers had the killer bees back in the 2010s, we struggled when it came to these stupid freaking trap games. The Steelers cannot beat these trap games. Like, and the one concern that I have going forth with the rest of the season is, does this trap game change the entire mentality of the Steelers? Because the problem is you get knocked down like this, and this is a different analogy, but like when Pitt got beat by SMU, and this is like college. They lost to SMU, and they were both ranked teams. SMU was a very good team, unbelievably good. Pitt was also supposed to be a really good team, but they got mauled by SMU. And I was like, okay, it happens. SMU is a really good team. And then you go in and you end up playing Virginia. And Virginia is bad, and you lose to Virginia. And then you choke to Clemson. And next thing you know, you're out of the ACC championship race. You're probably out of the college football playoff talk, and your bowl game is starting to get worse. And the problem that I have right now with the Steelers is the schedule is only going to get harder. You beat the Commanders. You really needed to beat the Browns. You have, like, you beat the Ravens 18-16 without scoring a freaking touchdown. And then you go in and you lose to the Browns. And, like, I get it. They're AFC matchups. And, like, they're your matchups in your division and stuff, and I get it. But the problem going forward now is you have to play the Bengals. And, like, yes, I know the Bengals aren't doing that well this year. But on paper, your schedule is a lot easier than the Steelers. And if the Steelers start falling off, you guys could easily bump the Steelers out before you even know it. The Steelers could easily, like, all of a sudden go like 2-6 or 2-7. You're like, what happened to the Steelers? But at the end of the day, I mean, you look at it, you have the Bengals, who are obviously still fighting for a playoff spot. You have to face them twice. And the one thing I will say about the Steelers against the Bengals is, over the last couple of years, or at least even last year, the Steelers have done good offensively against you guys because of, I guess, your defense is not meshing real good with our offense. So we've talked about your defense being a problem. So, but okay, so you have that. But then also on top of that, you have to play Baltimore again. You have to hope that, like, you're going to assume that Cleveland comes back to Pittsburgh and you'll win that game. But then you have to go to Baltimore, and then you have to play Cincinnati twice. And then in there, you have to play one of the top teams in the NFC, being Philadelphia, in Philadelphia. And then on Christmas Day, you have to play Patrick Mahomes and the top-seeded Kansas City Chiefs. This schedule is not easy. And if this team doesn't figure it out, this team could be in a lot of trouble come playoff time. And I'm very concerned because this team, I really think, needs a home advantage game for them to do well in this playoff run. Because if they don't win the division, I don't like their chances of going into Houston. I don't like their chances of going into, Buffalo, or, I mean, obviously it wouldn't be Kansas City because they'd probably have the top seed, but you get the point. Like, I don't know how well the Steelers would do. They need that home game, and they need to keep winning. And look, I know the stat right now is Mike Tomlin doesn't do good against AFC North opponents on Thursday Night Football, but, like, he's like 0-8 now. Like, that's ridiculous.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like that was the whole thing. The whole narrative was like, oh, well, Mike Tomlin going into this is 0-7 against AFC North competitors. It was like some ridiculous AFC North Thursday Night Football stat. But he's like 0-7, and now he's 0-8. He lost again. Like, he can't just, like, come on, dude. Like, I get it was snowing, but, like, even then, like, your guys played better in the snow. And so there's a lot of frustrations I have, but I mean, we've only had 3 losses this season, 2 of which were preventable. This one, I'm just going to chalk up as, like, just a really bad loss, a really bad trap game. And I'm very concerned because a lot of our offense is field goals. Because what would we do if Chris Boswell got hurt? We'd be screwed. We would have to hope that our next kicker that we picked up was Chris Boswell 3.0 or 2.0, or, the next Chris Boswell, the next legendary Chris Boswell. You would have to hope, because he throws out his leg. He hurts himself in the kickoff. You can't rely on field goals anymore. So
you also have 2 games though that you won off of just field goals.
yeah, and that's
So
the problem.
the Steelers could realistically be a 6-5 team.
Realistically, they could. I mean, these if Chris Boswell wasn't as accurate and as efficient as he is, you have a different kicker in there. Like you said, this team could be easily 6-5. You lose to Baltimore, you lose to Atlanta. Like your team all of a sudden is not as good as you thought it was. You are, like you said, 6-5, and you're on the outside looking into Baltimore because Baltimore has, probably at that point 2 games ahead of you because you wouldn't have beaten Baltimore. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think although the defense at times looks good, I mean, the concern that I have is still the offensive play calling and the consistency with the defense. And I don't know. I mean, I still trust in Russ, but I don't know. Arthur Smith is questionable. I think he needs to figure it out. He needs to figure it out. I mean, he's not as bad as Matt Canada, but dang, I mean, sometimes I really just need some progress here from Arthur Smith, because just when you think the Steelers are starting to light it up, 32-13 against the Raiders, 37-35, whatever, 37-15 against the Jets. Okay, 26-18. Okay, you're putting up pretty consistent numbers, 28-27. Okay, you beat the Ravens 18-16 by only field goals, and then you lose to the Browns 24-19. Why? So I think, if anything, the best way to show it is, even if we lose to you guys on Sunday, the best thing for me to see is the defense look competent and the offense actually score touchdowns. Yeah, you can throw in 2 or 3 field goals. I don't care, but at least throw in 2 touchdowns. Score 14. So it scored 14 points, 2 touchdowns. Okay, there you go, 14 points, and then score 2 field goals. Okay. And then if the Bengals, if we lose to the Bengals 20-30, okay, so be it. I would hope that doesn't happen, because then at that point I'll be complaining about the defense not being, consistent. But, show me some more offense here. Utilize your weapons. They're not utilizing Mike Williams. They traded for him. They used him the one time. He hasn't done anything since. It's frustrating. That's all. But thankfully, I'm angry because the team is good and we have potential, but it's a different type of angry than it was last year, if that makes sense.
Well, let's preview that Bengals versus Steelers game that you alluded to. It's coming up this Sunday at 1 o'clock, I believe, early window. And Bengals have been finding ways to lose football games. It's been kind of impressive at times. Depressing, but impressive. Evan McPherson struggling. A lot of kickers are struggling now. Like Justin Tucker's been struggling. Jake Elliott's been struggling. Chris Boswell and Harrison Butker are really the only 2 kickers that saw. Brandon Aubrey miss too. He hadn't missed for a while. Anyway, kickers struggling. That our defense, I mean, that's been the narrative all season. That's what we've been talking about. Struggle. DJ Turner starts to get it together, breaks his clavicle. He's out for the season. So I believe it was his clavicle. So now we're with Cam Taylor-Britt, who got benched for DJ Turner. And then Cam Taylor-Britt came back in when DJ Turner got hurt. So we got Cam Taylor-Britt and then a rookie 5th-round pick at cornerback, and Josh Newton, which Fig Newton has looked good. Hopefully he continues to do so. But we have no pass rush. We continually have no pass rush. Why did you not trade for a pass rusher? It's frustrating. And this game is really going to come down to, in my eyes, especially after what you've said, like, can the offense score more points than what the defense lets up? And I know that's like an obvious type of thing, but it's going to be another game where Joe and Jamar are going to have to have another crazy day, because for whatever reason the defense is going to do the bend not break thing, which has been the mantra the whole time. However, you guys have proven you can win games by just kicking field goals. And I know you don't want that, and this could be a game where you guys finally do get multiple touchdowns, because honestly, the defense is not good. I don't know who's going to be on DJ or on George Pickens, but if it's Cam Taylor-Britt, I don't know what happened to him. He was great, and now he's like one of the worst man coverage cornerbacks in the NFL. Luckily, we're getting Orlando Brown Jr. back on the offensive line to protect Joe Burrow on that left side, but I'm got concerns about the interior offensive line now. Alex Kappa and Cordell Volson are both bad now. What I want to do and what they won't do this. They should do this, though. They should. If I was Zach Taylor, I would do this. Start Matt Lee at center. Rookie 7th-round pick. Start him at center. It's the only position he can play. Move Ted Karras to right guard. Ted Karras has experience at guard. He's a fairly good player. And what I want to see is, can Matt Lee play center? Well, he looked great in the preseason. He's graded very well. Ted Karras is grading poorly at center right now, and I think part of that is because he's having to compensate for both Cordell Volson and Alex Kappa on either side of him. So take Alex Kappa out, because I think he's worse than Volson is. And then give Karras to help both Lee and Mims, who I think are both better than Kappa, and that'll put them at either end of them. Because TJ Watt's going to be coming. He blitzes from the right side normally, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to need to help out Mims on that right side. And then is Alex Highsmith still injured? Is he still out?
Yeah, I think, but Herbig has been doing really well.
Okay. So I feel confident, assuming Orlando Brown Jr. comes back from injury and is somewhat of the same player that he was. He was having a career season before he got hurt. So assuming he comes back, I think he can take on, even if he needs a tight end chip to help him, he can take on that pass rush from that left side by himself, but he might need a tight end a few times. I think the Bengals are going to have to, and this is going to be we've said this before, and it's so freaking annoying. The Bengals are just going to have to come out and score a ton of points again, because you guys are going to find a way to win. And I know you're annoyed by the offensive play calling, but just looking ahead to this, I don't know that we can go. This is another game where we can't go out and be conservative. We have to go out and put up 20 points early on you guys, because you guys will chip away at the defense and then kick field goals.
Hey, you know what? I mean, that's even as early as last year. Buffalo in the playoff game literally scored like 21 points right off of the gate. We couldn't come back. And we were a big chip away type team. You gotta pull Buffalo.
The Bengals have the offensive advantage here. Clearly, they have the touchdown, but you guys clearly have the coaching and defense advantage. Mike Tomlin is a better coach than Zach Taylor. I mean, the record just shows that. Mike Tomlin finds ways to win. He goes in, they make adjustments, and they find ways to win. The Bengals sometimes make adjustments. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they make adjustments, and it's like they're watching a completely different game than the rest of the team. But Joe is extremely frustrated. Trey is extremely frustrated. Jamar Chase is extremely frustrated. You're coming off of a bye week. You've had time to put this plan together. There is no excuse to why the Bengals should lose this game. You know what the Steelers look like. You know what this team is. I mean, like, what do you think when you look at the Bengals? Like, are there anything that concerns you? Other than like the obvious of like your defense has struggled and your offense has struggled, but you continue to find ways.
No, I mean, like I said before, I've always kind of pinned your downfall for like the Cincinnati Bengals downfall to the defense. Like I've pinned it on the defense this entire season and even a little bit last season. I mean, like I said, last season, we didn't have Matt Canada for both of those games against you guys. We had an interim offense coordinator. It was still Matt Canada's playbook, but we still managed Kenny Pickett managed 200 and some yards against you guys. And then Mason Rudolph had 3 touchdowns, and he had a huge breakaway pass to George Pickens immediately to start the game. And I think that was one of the very first 400-yard plus offenses that we had. And I think that it's your defense because, and I know we've said oh yeah, the defense or the offense. I don't know if it's necessarily anything specifically because, I mean, I guess it would probably be the pass, the aerial coverage. And we've talked about it with Cam Taylor-Britt and all those guys. I don't know. When I think about it, I mean, obviously, like I said, you made Kenny Pickett look like a GOAT. You made Mason Rudolph look like he was the greatest quarterback of all time. So we haven't played you guys yet this year, but obviously, I mean, some of these teams have really balled out against you guys and you've balled out back, but some of these teams that you've played also don't have the greatest defenses, but the Chargers do. And that was impressive. The Chargers, I feel have a relatively decent defense, and the way that Harbaugh calls it is a very defensive slated mindset in a way. And I found it very fascinating that you guys ended up having a really bloodbath of the game. And I wouldn't be surprised if something similar happens in this game where it ends up like a Colts finish, where it's a 30-27 final. And that'll make me mad because of the consistency of our defense, but also considering the fact that your offense is still very explosive. I think, like I said, I think it would just be your aerial. Because, like I said, if you make Russell Wilson go 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in this game and we win 30-27 over you guys, you're going to need some safeties. You're going to need a cornerback. You're going to need secondary. I mean, I really think it's just your backfield, really. I think your rush isn't even that bad. I mean, I think Trey Hendrickson is very underrated as a player. And yeah, I mean, obviously you want to enhance it over time, but I really think it's that backfield, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Trey Hendrickson. The pass rush is just Trey Hendrickson. That's the problem.
Yeah,
there's very rarely any pressure up the middle. Now you guys have a bunch of young guys starting on your offensive line, so maybe that'll help. I would hope that would help the Bengals pass rush, but we also have some rookies on our defensive line, so we'll see what happens. Final statement: I'm taking the over on George Pickens yards.
Okay. What is do we know what the over is?
Let's find. Let's see.
I'm assuming it's probably 60.
Something like that. Yeah, if it's that, I'm taking it for sure because he's gonna have a really good game. Last time he played you guys last year, he had a really big game. So 69.5 right now.
Yeah, he'll probably 115 yards is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, something like that. It's my recommendation in fantasy this week is start George Pickens because I have no confidence in.
You can even throw in Calvin Austin the third as well. You never know. Calvin Austin the third might have a huge game. Yeah,
that's fun to think about. Anyway, there's 3 injuries. We don't really have to discuss them, but I'll just mention them. Azeez Ojulari on IR for the New York Giants. It's a toe injury, no surgery, just kind of long-term rest and rehab. Lions wide receiver Khalif Raymond. He's also on IR. That is more significant to me. Well, okay. Azeez Ojulari is significant. I love Azeez Ojulari. I wanted the Bengals to trade for him. They didn't. But Azeez Ojulari, they have other pass rushers on the Giants. Also, the Giants aren't really competing anymore. Lions, however, are competing. And the reason I think it's more significant is Khalif Raymond was also their return guy. And so now, at least last game against the Colts when Khalif Raymond got hurt, they put Amon-Ra St. Brown back there. I don't think you want your wide receiver 1 being your return guy, but you can do it. I've seen it done before with other teams. It's just not really a great situation to be in my opinion, because injuries happen easily that way. But that being said, the final injury is J.K. Dobbins. He has a knee sprain and is week to week. He suffered that against the Ravens, and he's been having a great year. He was my pick for comeback player of the year to this point, because he's just been balling out, having a resurgence in LA. So hopefully he can return quickly. But just wanted to discuss those quickly, those 3 injuries, or not discuss them, but just mention them. And then I guess we could do some picks, Chus.
Yeah. If you want to throw me some picks, you can.
Let's do Bears versus Lions.
I'm gonna go with the Lions. I don't think that offense is slowing down anytime soon, and I don't think the Bears are going to stop them. The Bears need a team that isn't the Lions to get themselves out of this slump that they're in right now. I don't think that the Bears are going to make their losing streak go away against this team. I mean, yes, I get that it's possible, the rivalry, but no, probably not.
Yeah, I'm also going Lions here. I know the history on Thanksgiving for the Lions isn't the greatest, but even with David Montgomery out, you got Jahmyr Gibbs. He's a stud. You've got that offense is just so much fun. Those guys are out there having fun. That defense, even though they're beat up, they've been playing well. They don't have Aiden Hutchinson, obviously. We'll see if they have Carlton Davis back and Terrion Arnold. I'm not sure if they will be playing tomorrow, but those would be 2 great additions if they can get both of those guys back. Second game, Giants and Cowboys, the Cooper Rush versus the Tommy DeVito / Drew Lock experience.
Man, this game sucks. I don't really want to ever think about this game, but I don't know. I guess I'll go with the Cowboys. Not really I guess they have a little bit more weaponry. I mean, obviously the Giants are going to, if they have to start Drew Lock over Tommy DeVito, I mean, that's just going to put the Cowboys in a better position to win. I mean, the Cowboys are just not good right now. And that's obviously to an extent because Dak's gone. But also, the Giants aren't that good either. So, I mean, both of these teams aren't good. It's going to be a bloodbath, but maybe the Cowboys will win for the sake of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Giants just to be different.
Okay, that's okay because I mean,
I have no real reason other than just to be different.
Okay,
and I think maybe that pass rush will get to Cooper Rush and create some turnovers, and they can put something together. Third Thanksgiving game is Dolphins at Packers.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna go with the Packers. I know that the Dolphins are slowly coming back. They're coming back together, but once again, Green Bay, very Thanksgiving type team. We just talked about it. Tua doesn't do very good in the cold, and I think this team's gonna struggle just slightly against Green Bay. Green Bay is a pretty solid team this year, as we've talked about, and I don't know. I don't see them taking too fondly to a Miami win in Green Bay at Lambeau Field during Thanksgiving. So I'm gonna go with the Packers.
I'm also gonna go with the Packers. Like you said, Dolphins still getting it together. Well, the Packers are already together. Jaden Reed has been playing well. Even with Malik Willis at quarterback, the Packers have found ways to win football games. Josh Jacobs has been balling out up there as well. So this is a very good team. They've had some key injuries, and you know what? It hasn't stopped them. So I'm going with the Packers. Next game. This slate sucks, by the way. Just saying. Colts at Patriots.
Wow. Wow, this is another great one. I think I'm gonna have to go with I'm gonna go with the Patriots. I think I'm going to go with the Patriots because listen, their Colts are really beaten up right now, and I feel like the Patriots are going to have themselves a little breakout game. Just like one of those like random. I mean, obviously the Patriots aren't doing anything this season, and they're not going to finish above 500, obviously. So I'm expecting what I'm thinking for is a Patriots dub. I'm thinking this is going to be one of their random wins this season. Everyone's going to be like, "Oh wow, the Patriots won. That's cool." And it'll be like 20-16 or something. It'll be weird.
So the Patriots suck.
They do.
But at the same time, they beat the Bengals.
Oh.
I'm also not. I'm so disappointed in the Colts. However, there was a period Sunday, where Anthony Richardson looked like prime Cam Newton for like a whole singular drive. Maybe there is a reality where Anthony Richardson can do that again. The defense can get it together for once, and the Colts can win this game. However, I don't think we live in that reality. New England Patriots, Sunday, 1 p.m., victory.
Heck yeah. Okay.
Next game, Seahawks at Jets. Are you riding with Stan or without Stan?
I'm not riding with Stan. I'm going with the Seahawks. The Seahawks have been a very interesting team this year, but I think that they've been consistent enough that they're not going to fall to the Jets. I just can't see it. I think the Jets are still struggling to figure out ways to win with their magical Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams thing. I mean, listen, I feel like the magic of watching D-Generation X versus the Brothers of Destruction at WWE Super Showdown is a great idea, but when they're in their late 50s, it's not a fun match to watch. And unfortunately, although the magic would have been really awesome in the mid 2000s, it's not as fun as it is now. And that's what I have to say when it comes to Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. It was fun back then, but I don't want to see it anymore. I'm going with the Seahawks.
I was confused. I didn't know where you were going with that.
The magic's not there, man. You want a dream matchup. Like, you get your dream matchup, I mean, it's not really a dream matchup, but you get your dream team back, and it's just like kind of mid.
The Jets are a mess. Like, their owner might be going to serve as an ambassador to England again. I think it's England.
That's good for him, man.
That's what happened last time.
He can jet off. So he can jet off to.
Last time Trump was president, Woody Johnson served as an ambassador, and his brother took care of the team. But then also Woody Johnson might want to cut Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers might not want to play football anymore. But if he decides to, then the Jets are his first pick, and like there's just a mess. There's a mess of a team, and they put everything into Aaron Rodgers, and it just hasn't worked out. And the Seahawks are gonna win this. Oh my gosh, these games are awful. Anyway, final game: Bengals versus Steelers. We just talked about it. You can tell how much confidence I have in the team. But who are you taking?
I'm gonna stick with my boys. I'm gonna stick with the Steelers. I think, like you said, I think we'll find a way to win. I think even though I'm frustrated, I'm mad, I'm just gonna take Thursday Night Football as a fluke, and the fact that Mike Tomlin hasn't won a Thursday Night Football game against an AFC North team ever, or at least in the last 8 matchups. It says he was 0-8 or whatever the stat is. Somebody can correct me on it. I'm going to go with the Steelers. I think we can hopefully figure it out and bounce back. I think it'll be close, though. I think it's going to be a lot closer than we imagine, but I think it's going to be within that 7-point range. I think it'll probably be somewhere, because the last 2 matchups, it was 2 points with the Ravens, and it was 5 with the Browns. So it'll probably be like 7 or 4 or something.
I am going to take the Bengals with the small bit of hope that I have left that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase can somehow score more points that outweigh Zach Taylor's ability to lose football games through play calling or just random crap going on.
Okay.
So,
I mean, yeah, we'll see.
let's not miss 2 field goals again. Last week would have been great. It would have been beautiful. It would have been a great comeback win. That would have been the storyline. Like, Bengals were gritty. They came back, or not last week, but their game against the Chargers. It would have been gritty win, great comeback, 21 behind. Then you missed 2 field goals. And you let them score a touchdown at the end. Like, come on, man. Come on. We got to do something better at some point. But that's all I've got to say today. I'll go into my spiel if you have nothing else to say.
I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, here we go. Thank you for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We can be found anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube at No Butts Show. Our social media pages are NoButts_show on Instagram. My Twitter is Josh_Butts_2001. If you would like to reach us, you can email us at bullmoosepodcast2. That's the number 2 at gmail.com. Finally, our spread shop will be in the description, so check out the merch. Once again, if you enjoyed today's show, please like, comment, and subscribe. We are so close to 500. Until next time, go do something nice for someone.